Hey,
Hello, Kent.
Philip.
How are you?
Good. You?
Hey, I got a question for you. Are you a
Fire
dreamer?
away.
Do you dream at
Uh,
night? Do you have like really pithy, meaningful dreams at night?
uh, I used to dream a lot more than or I used to remember my dreams a lot more than if I'm still dreaming, I don't remember them nearly as much as I
That's
did as a kid or when I was younger.
yeah. That's
Uh,
kind of the same
how
with
about you?
me. When I do dream and I remember it, it's crazy. Like it doesn't make
Yes.
sense. And I hear people that have dreams and that, like there's some really deep meaning to it, and some
Yes.
great revelation about life or their future or whatever. And so I'll have a
Right.
dream and it's like, a piece of cheese is dancing in a disco or something. I mean, it makes no
Right.
sense.
Right.
And I'm like, oh man, what
Right.
can I have?
Yeah.
And I'm
Deep
like you.
psychological meaning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I would love to have a really meaningful dream, but unfortunately, they seem to escape me. And I'm like you. Most of the time, I forget it by the time I wake up anyway.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
I will say my best dreams and some that have had incredible meaning have come to me when I'm awake. And that's what I want to talk
Of
about today,
course.
Kent, is
All right.
dreaming.
Okay.
If you are an entrepreneur, if you've started out on the journey, you have a dream. That's how you got started. It inspired you. And so, what I want to emphasize today is not just that initial dream, but to allow yourself time and space to keep dreaming. So important because that is the fuel for your growth. That is the fuel for your destiny.
Mm.
So, this is, I'm going to go way back here. When
Okay.
I was a teenager
All right.
in junior high school, now, Kent, back in the ancient days, we used to have a grade school, grammar school, then junior high, and then high school. I know they don't do it that way, but back in the ancient days, in the last
Okay.
century, we used to go
All
junior high.
right.
So I was in junior high, and I remember we were given a class assignment to see yourself 20 years in the future and to write an essay on what you will be doing.
Okay.
Now, I didn't remember this until years later, but here's what I wrote.
Okay.
Not verbatim because I don't have it, but I can remember
Yeah.
my sentiment at the time. I could see now. I grew up in a small town of Jackson, Tennessee, less than 100,000
Okay.
people. I see myself as an adult living in a big city, living in a high rise apartment or condo where I can look out over the city and owning a business in a high rise office building where I have my office with windows that look out over the city. And I'm the mogul running it all. That was my dream, my vision
Really? In
as a
junior high?
and junior high. I'm 14 years old. I'm sure my teachers got a
Wow.
big kick out of that. But I will tell you, Kent, I didn't think of that for many, many years until one day when I'm sitting in my downtown condo with a panoramic view of Nashville, and I'm looking
Mm.
across the way at my office in a high rise office building, and I can see the window of my corner office at that same building. And it came back to me, Philip Hampton, this was your dream at 14 years old.
Wow.
It came true.
Wow.
It
Yeah.
came true.
Yeah.
So
It certainly
never,
did.
never discount dreams. I don't care how preposterous they may seem.
Mm-hmm.
Don't discount them, but visualize them. And I'll give you some advice that was given to me a long time ago when I was a kid, again, a teenager, from about the age of 12 to I would say 18, 17, 18. I did something called Bible quizzing. In our church, we had um, it was a competition for teenagers where you study a particular book of the Bible, and then you go to these quizzes. I know you're familiar with this, Kent. You were involved
Yes.
with it as well in your church, and so I was a Bible quizzer, and I was a decent Bible quizzer. We actually won the state championship one year and went to the
Oh,
national
very
championship.
cool.
Yeah. So, but I was very competitive and I studied hard. I was a good studier, but I had good memory. And I had an elder minister. He was really old. He had been friends with my grandfather. My grandfather died when I was a baby. And so I never knew him, but he was a minister as well. He was a preacher,
Okay.
my grandfather on my mother's side. And this preacher had been friends with my grandfather
Oh,
and
okay.
had kept up with my mother. And so for some reason, he took a liking to me. I don't know if I reminded him of my grandfather, which some people have said that I do, particularly as
Okay.
I've gotten older. But he took a liking to me. As a matter of fact, he was convinced that I was a genius. He thought I was a genius, and he was all the
Okay.
time calling me saying, and he would call me. He's probably in his 80s at the time, I'm guessing, and I'm just
Okay.
a teenager, and he would call me up to encourage me, and he would say, "Philip, you need to take the Mensa test. I think you will qualify. You need to be in Mensa." And like for and I was like, "No, no, no, I don't think so." But here's the advice he gave me. And this was in when I was a Bible quizzer, and he was trying to coach me up to be the best I could be. And so
Sure.
we had quizzed for several years, and we were always came up just short in the state championship, either third, second, always just short.
Yep. Yep.
And so this minister would call me up and he would say, "Philip, you studying?" He had this preacher voice. And he would say, "Here's what's so important when you go to that final. You need to imagine and visualize you winning that championship." He goes, you visualize it over and over again because until it seems like it's already happened.
Okay.
He taught me a lesson. The
Yeah.
power of dreaming and visualizing what you want to come true. And you
Hmm.
know what? We won the state championship that year.
Oh my.
So I took that and I began to use that in my business. Now, when you're a small business owner, Kent, there is so much what I call blocking and tackling. Yeah, just the mechanics of doing the business. You can get run down just there's so much. There's the people management, there's the paper management, there's the money management, and it just becomes overwhelming. And you can
Right.
be consumed by that. And it happened to
Right.
me. But it is so important to take time somewhere along the way to push back from that and dream. And I sound like a
Oh,
goofball, but I'm telling you, it is the fuel for your growth. So
hmm.
I'll tell you, there was a time we were growing, and I had a little office space that we had, few people crammed into these three little offices, and we were in the corner. It was an office space that nobody else wanted. In fact, one of us had to sit in the server room. It was so cold you had to wear a coat or a sweater in there. So I'm thankful for what it was, and I wasn't paying a lot of money
Of
for it. But
course.
man, I wanted to be a legitimate business. I wanted to invite a client in that we could discuss a project and usher them into a conference room, have them come to a lobby where I had a receptionist and I had a big sign that said Logic 4. That was my dream. I wanted that. I wanted that to
Right.
me signified that I was a legitimate business. But that was no way in the cards for me at that time. I had no way of getting that set up.
Okay.
But I dreamed about it. I dreamed about it. It's like, and I didn't really tell anybody, but I want that someday. I want that big
Yeah.
office. One day, where my office was, there was another law firm located in the same building across the hall, and they had like a whole wing. They had the nice reception area, big double glass doors. You walk in, they had their firm name displayed behind the receptionist. It was awesome. And so they were a client of ours, so I had to go over there
Okay.
to troubleshoot something. And while I'm in there, I'm in the conference room and nobody else is in the conference room. And I just stood there because there, that beautiful conference room, and there were these panoramic view of Nashville. We were, I think, on the
Okay.
19th floor of this high rise, and it was just, and I just stopped. And I tell you, kid, you think I'm crazy, but something said to me, "This will be yours one day."
Oh, wow.
And I shook myself, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm crazy. There's no way."
Right. Right.
But it was just a little whisper that said, "This will be yours
Wow.
someday." And it hit me right there. And I was like,
Right.
okay, I grabbed onto that. I didn't tell anybody, but
Wow.
I was like, I feel like God whispered that to me. I don't want to tell anybody because I'm not sure, but I feel like it. He put that desire, that
Right.
dream. And would you know, I don't know how many years it was later, that firm moved out of that space and we were the next tenant in that space. We had the reception, we had the big logic, we had a sign built,
Yes.
beautiful entryway. We had the panoramic view from our conference room. I had a panoramic view from my office. But many years before, God had put that dream in me that kind of gave me the drive to like, okay, let's just keep gutting this thing out. I had
Right.
the dream.
My goodness.
So I'll tell you one other time, and this was, uh, I'll tell you, this is really weird how I remember this, the timing, because
Okay.
in the span of 26 years, there I can remember experiences, but sometimes it's hard for me to place it on a timeline because it's just
Of
it
course.
all melds into one. But this, I can tell you how I remember it. I had gone to San Francisco to get certified to train a particular piece of software that attorneys use. And at that
Okay.
time, you know, I'm struggling to create new revenue streams, and I'm like, this could be another way. This is a software that we could that our clients use. If I get certified in it, then I can train it and I can charge for that. So I'm looking for
Right.
other. I'm digging. I'm looking for other
Scrambling.
ways.
Yeah.
And so I had to fly to San Francisco again on my own dime. So it was not cheap. I got the cheapest flight I could. Again, I economized on the hotel, all of that, but it was a grind. And I went through the certification process. I had to take a test when I got home. I felt like, yeah, I'll get this. But I'll just tell you, I was down in the dumps. I was just
Okay.
and so how I remember the date is really weird. It has nothing to do with the story, but I'll just tell you because I don't know if you've ever heard of Bonnaroo, which is a huge music festival in it's just south of
Yeah.
Nashville. And
Yes.
I back in the day when I used to travel, I would always get a USA Today before I got on the plane, and I would read the USA Today, old school,
Yep.
and work
Yep.
crossword puzzles during the flight. That was my regimen.
Okay.
And I remember having USA Today on this flight back from San Francisco and reading about Bonnaroo, a brand new music festival in Nashville, or just south of Nashville. And it was a big deal. It made national news, and I didn't know a thing about it. I'm like, "Whoa, I didn't know they were having that." So that's how I remember when it was. This is early
Got
2000s,
it.
and you can look up whenever Bonnaroo started. That's when this was. And so uh, I was I was tired. I was weary of just managing the business, and here I am trying to get new revenue and just prime the pump. And to be honest with you, I was not even. I was probably not even doing things healthy. I'll just put it that way. I was just not being healthy in any of my habits and everything. And I was just feeling down. So I'm on this plane, kind of feeling sorry for myself and just kind of feeling worn out. I had picked up a book before the trip. And now, Kent, I know that you are a voracious reader. I marvel at all the books that you read. But as a small business owner, I didn't have time to read those really, you know, war and peace type books that you can devour in a night. I just didn't have time, and so I would buy these little small books. And so there was a book that came out um, a little bit before this time called "The Prayer of Jabez." Bruce Wilkinson probably read that book, And
Yes.
I had picked up that book and it was, it hit. I mean, it was a major hit. It got media play, even on secular media. And so I had prayed the prayer of Jabez over my business. Lord, give me enlarge my borders, enlarge my borders. And really, the only thing that enlarged was my bills. I I'm not saying that God didn't answer the prayer, but He wasn't answering it right away. And so I was like, yeah, prayer Jabez, good for everybody that's seeing results from this, but it's really not been that great for me. But then Wilkerson came out with the second book. And so I don't remember if I bought it or somebody gave it to me, but again, it was a little small book, and that's what I read because that's what I had time to read on this flight. And it was Secrets of the Vine, right here. Still have it. Sequel to Prayer of Jabez. So as I was reading the book, and man, I will try. Some of these things, it's so hard for me not to get emotional. I'm not an emotional person, but some of these things I have never shared with anybody. And so it's very close. And when I go to that place, it triggers an emotional response. So understand that. And I'm sorry. And this is one of those stories I've never told.
Mhm.
I'm reading the book and wondering why I'm struggling. Personal life, spiritual life, business life, I'm struggling. And I'm like, why? And one of the premises of this book, Secrets of the Vine, and what he talks about is when Jesus, right before Jesus went to the cross, it was like his last message, his last lesson to the disciples. And it was about I am the vine, you are the branches. And talking about the pruning away of the branches that are unfruitful or not productive so that they will become more fruitful. And as I read that book, it began to speak to me that I was going through a pruning process. Some things that I was doing that was not healthy, not good, both in business, personal, and it was not it was not a chastisement so much as it was God began to speak to me about my fruitfulness. And as I began to read and God just really spoke to me. I can um I'm not a person that God will speak to me like in an audible voice. I've never heard anything. But I will tell you, Kent, there I can count on one hand the number of times I have felt like absolutely I heard a word from the Lord. There was no doubt. And I don't know how to describe it other than I get a feeling, a knowing, and then it's almost like there's a lightning strike that illuminates that in my soul. And I just know it. This was one of those times. And it was so weird. I'm on this packed airplane flying from San Francisco back to Nashville, and I began to cry, and I was embarrassed. So I reached down. I had my um, sunglasses in my backpack. I reached down and put on my sunglasses so nobody could see me, and I boohooed on that flight as God began to deal with me about some changes He wanted in me so I could be more fruitful. And then He went a step further, and He put a dream in my heart for the future, way, way down the line. I will never forget it. And I'm not going to tell you what it was because I never told anybody. But I will tell you it's coming true today. When I say today, I mean in this present era. And he spoke to me on that plane when I was burnt out, trying to drum up more revenue, trying to think of ways to juice the business. And I just had to step away, get my head in the Word of God, essentially, and allow myself to dream a God inspired dream. God gave me a dream that day for where my business was going. And it looked like we were a million miles away from that. And we were. But God is faithful. When He puts a dream in your heart, it's for a reason. He brought it to pass. It's not even been completely fulfilled, but it's happening. I can tell you. And it was back on that plane because I took the time to dream. So, Kent, my advice to any entrepreneur, you're struggling, maybe you feel like things are shedding off, things have fallen back, maybe you've kind of backtracked a little bit. It may be a pruning. It may be you need to drop some things that you're doing and pick up some other things because it is God's will for His people to be fruitful.
And that was the early 2000s.
Yes, I sold the business in 2021.
So roughly 15 to 18 years, maybe.
I doubted, but God is
Yes.
faithful and God is good. And oh, there were there were perilous moments after that. I can guarantee you, but I never forgot that dream. I never forgot that dream. Take time to dream. Put the pen down, put the computer down, put the checkbook down, and take time to dream and let God put it into your heart about your fruitfulness. He wants you to be fruitful, and even if He has to prune you a little bit, He'll do it to get the most fruit out of you.
That's beautiful.